Let's talk about something that confuses many men. Why would a woman ignore you if she's truly in love with you? Shouldn't love make her more open, more expressive, more available? You see, love is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it hides behind silence, not because it is absent, but because it's trying to protect itself. When a woman is deeply in love, her emotions intensify. And when those emotions become overwhelming, one of the ways she copes is by pulling back. Let's unpack why, when a woman is deeply in love, she begins to feel something many people overlook: vulnerability that shakes her very core. And in that vulnerable state, her instinct might not be to move closer, but to pull back, to retreat into silence, not because her love is fading, but because it's growing too fast, too deep, too raw, and that intensity terrifies her, because for the first time, she's not just thinking with her head, she's feeling with every part of her being. And those feelings make her question everything. Am I safe with him? Can I trust him with my? Will he still want me if I show him all of me? So instead of opening up and risking rejection, she may choose to withdraw, to ignore, to create distance, not out of cruelty, but out of a desperate need to feel secure within herself again, to regain balance before she drowns in emotions she didn't expect to feel this soon. And her silence becomes a wall she builds out of fear. Fear that she will be misunderstood, fear that she will be too much, too emotional, too invested. So she does the only thing that makes her feel in control. She disappears into herself, hoping you'll understand, hoping you'll sense that behind her quietness is a storm of feelings too fragile to express in words, and this moment is not about her pushing you away. It's about her fighting to protect the love she feels, because to her, love is not a game. It's not something to play with. It's sacred. It's life-changing. And when she gives her heart, she gives it whole. And that wholeness is terrifying, because it means you now hold a part of her she can't take back. And if you were to break it, it wouldn't just hurt. It would shatter her sense of self. So ignoring you becomes her shield, her invisible armor, her quiet attempt to keep from falling too hard, too fast, even though deep down, she already has. And she's just waiting to feel safe enough to come out of hiding, to let her guard down, to speak again, not because the silence was comfortable, but because your presence finally made her feel like silence is no longer necessary. Sometimes, when a woman is deeply in love, she unconsciously begins to test the connection between you and her, not because she's trying to play games or manipulate you, but because love has made her feel exposed, unsure, and she needs to know if what she feels is mutual, if your words match your actions, if you'll show up for her even when she steps back, even when she doesn't make it easy. And so she might go quiet, not to punish you, but to observe, to see if you'll notice the change, if you'll reach out, if you'll care enough to ask what's going on beneath the surface. And it's not about chasing for the sake of ego. It's about showing her that her presence matters to you, that she's not alone in this emotional experience, and that you're aware when something feels different, when the rhythm between you shifts. And this silence becomes her way of finding out if your connection runs deep or if it only exists when she's loud, available, and giving. Because when a woman gives from a place of deep love, she gives fully. She invests emotionally, spiritually, and mentally, and that level of investment makes her wonder if she's the only one giving. So she takes a step back to measure the depth of your commitment. And this test isn't always calculated. It often happens in the background of her thoughts, influenced by past hurts, by disappointments, by relationships where she gave everything and received crumbs in return. And now, even though she loves you, a part of her needs to know that if she stops carrying the emotional load, you'll still be there, holding space for her, reaching out, not because she reminded you, but because you noticed something wasn't right. because you felt the silence and chose to respond with presence. And in that moment, your response teaches her something valuable. It shows her if you're emotionally in tune, if you're attentive to the shifts in her energy, if you value the connection beyond a surface level interaction, and if you do, she'll begin to trust you more, speak more, open more, not because you forced her, but because you proved that you were listening even when she wasn't speaking. Because her silence wasn't emptiness, it was an unspoken question, asking you if you truly see her. When a woman is deeply in love, especially if she's strong, independent, and used to standing on her own, she might begin to feel like she's losing a part of her control, like her emotions are slipping through her fingers, and that terrifies her. Because love, while beautiful, can also make her feel like she's giving up a piece of her identity. And in that fear, she may decide to create distance, not because she doesn't want to be close to you, but because she's trying to hold on to herself, trying to keep her sense of stability intact. And ignoring you becomes a way to regulate the overwhelming wave of feelings she didn't expect to fall so deeply into. Because the more she falls, the more she worries about becoming dependent, about relying too much on your presence for her happiness. And for a woman who's worked hard to build herself, who's fought battles to be emotionally self-sufficient, that loss of power feels threatening, even if it's happening with someone she loves. And so she pulls back, not as an act of punishment, but as a reminder to herself that she's still in control, that she hasn't completely surrendered to love in a way that would leave her feeling helpless if things went wrong. And her silence becomes a form of self-preservation, a way to breathe, to think, to feel everything without losing herself in the process, because loving you may be the most intense feeling she's ever had, but she still wants to feel like she has her feet on the ground, like she's not being swept away by something she can't manage. And in those moments of silence, she's not asking you to chase her or fix her. She's asking you to understand her, to give her space without abandoning her, to let her return when she feels centered again, when she feels that she's able to love without sacrificing who she is. And if you can respect that silence, if you can understand that it's not rejection but a deep inner recalibration, then she'll come back even stronger, even more open, because she'll know that she can love you without losing herself, that she can fall and still stand, that her heart is safe with you, even when she needs a moment to hold her power close and remember who she is outside of the relationship she's so deeply invested in. When a woman is deeply in love, her mind doesn't rest easily. Instead, it becomes a constant loop of thoughts, doubts, hopes, and fears, all tangled into one. And even the smallest interaction with you can spark a whirlwind of overthinking inside her, because everything starts to feel like it matters more. Every word you say, every message you send, every moment of silence in between suddenly holds weight. And she begins to question whether she's reading too much into things or not enough, whether your short replies mean you're pulling away or if you're just tired, whether your change in tone is something deeper or just a passing mood. And this mental exhaustion builds quietly inside her, layer by layer, until it becomes overwhelming, and instead of asking you questions she's afraid will sound needy or emotional, she chooses to stay silent. She chooses to ignore you, not because she wants to punish you or create drama, but because she's trying to make sense of her own emotional chaos first. Because to her, every moment with you matters deeply, and she doesn't want to risk saying something that will push you away or make you think she's insecure, so she goes quiet, hoping the silence will give her time to sort through her feelings, to figure out what's real and what's imagined, to understand if the love she feels is being returned with the same depth, or if she's losing herself in something one-sided. And while she's silent on the outside, inside, she's replaying conversations, overanalyzing your tone, wondering if she's too much or not enough, if you even notice the shift in her energy, and it's not that she doesn't want to talk, it's that she doesn't know how to talk without breaking down, without spilling all the fears she's trying to keep contained. And in that quiet space, she's not looking for you to chase her with words, but to feel her energy, to notice her emotional distance and respond with gentleness, with understanding. Because what she needs most is reassurance that she doesn't have to carry the emotional weight of the relationship alone, that she can stop overthinking when she feels seen, heard, and safe. And when that safety arrives, when she feels that her silence was met with presence and not distance, she'll open up again. Because her love never left. It was just waiting for the storm in her mind to calm. When a woman is deeply in love, there comes a point when she stops speaking, not because she has nothing to say, but because she's waiting for you to step forward emotionally, waiting for you to meet her where she is without her always having to ask. Because love, to her, should be mutual. It should be felt without needing constant reminders. And when she goes silent, it's often not distance, but quiet expectation, a quiet hope that you'll sense the shift in her presence and respond, not with demands or assumptions, but with awareness, with softness, with intention. Because sometimes she grows tired of always leading the emotional charge, of being the one who opens up first, initiates the deep conversations, gives reassurance without being asked for it. And now she wants to see if you will be the one to reach into the silence and ask her how she truly feels, not out of obligation, but out of genuine care. And when she pulls back, it's her way of creating space to see if your connection can stretch and still hold, to see if you will follow not just when she's smiling, talking, giving, but also when she's quiet, unsure, and vulnerable. And it's not about testing your loyalty with tricks or manipulation. It's about longing to be loved in a way that doesn't always require her to explain every emotion, every silence, every sigh. Because when love is real, it feels, it senses, it notices the energy in the room even when no words are spoken. And her silence is that moment where she hopes you'll show her you're present enough to hear what she isn't saying, to feel what she's trying to communicate without putting it into sentences. Because if you do, if you lean in instead of pulling away, if you respond with care instead of frustration, she'll feel safe, she'll feel understood. And that safety will allow her to come out of hiding, to share what's on her heart, without fear of being dismissed or misunderstood. And in that space, the bond between you deepens, because she'll realize that she's no longer loving alone, no longer carrying all the emotional weight, but standing beside someone who sees her, hears her, and values her even when she's silent, especially when she's silent. When a woman is deeply in love, there can be moments when she retreats, when she pulls away into silence, not because of something you've done recently, but because of something you don't even see, something buried deep inside her that she's still trying to heal from. Maybe it's from a past relationship that left her broken in places she doesn't talk about. Maybe it's from childhood wounds, from being unheard, from being made to feel like her feelings were too much or never enough. And now that she's found herself in love again, those old scars start to burn, not because she wants them to, but because love has a way of bringing everything to the surface, even the pain she thought she'd hidden well. And in that space of being seen and loved, she suddenly feels exposed, like all the pieces she stitched together so carefully are now being noticed. And that noticing makes her feel both hopeful and terrified, because part of her wants to believe this love is different. But another part fears that history will repeat itself, that once again she'll give her all and be left with nothing. So instead of talking about it, instead of unraveling all the emotions tangled inside her, she chooses to go quiet, to protect you from her mess, and to protect herself from the fear of being judged or misunderstood. And in her silence, she's not turning her back on you, she's turning inward, trying to figure out how to trust, how to breathe, how to feel everything and not run away from the one thing she wants the most. Love that's real, safe, and lasting. And what she needs in that moment isn't pressure to speak or perform, but gentle presence. Someone who can sit in her silence without demanding explanations. Someone who understands that healing doesn't always look like tears or loud confessions. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's still. And if you can be patient, if you can wait without withdrawing, if you can be near without needing to fix her, she'll slowly open. Because in that kind of love, the kind that makes room for her pain and her joy, she will begin to trust, to believe that maybe this time she doesn't have to carry it all alone. Maybe this time silence doesn't mean goodbye, but simply hold me while I figure out how to let you all the way in. When a woman is deeply in love, something within her begins to shift, and though her heart beats louder for you, her actions might grow quieter, more reserved, not because her love is fading, but because it's growing in a way that scares her. Because deep love isn't always easy. It's not always sweet words and constant connection. Sometimes it's overwhelming. Sometimes it makes her feel out of control, vulnerable in a way she hasn't felt before. And so she pulls back. She ignores your messages, delays her responses, becomes distant not out of disinterest, but out of fear. Fear that what she feels is too intense, fear that she'll be left holding all this love alone. And she doesn't want to lose herself in someone who may not feel the same depth she does. So she silences herself, hoping that the distance will protect her from the pain of disappointment, from the sting of unmet expectations. And though she craves your touch, your presence, your voice, she holds back because she doesn't want to seem desperate, because she's been told before that loving too much makes her weak, makes her easy to leave. So she hides her emotions behind indifference, behind silence, not because she wants to confuse you, but because she's still learning how to love without losing herself, still figuring out how to express deep emotion without fearing abandonment. And her silence is not empty. It's filled with unspoken questions. Do you love me the way I love you? Will you stay even if I stop reaching first? Will you fight for me when I go quiet, or will you let me disappear? And in this space, she's waiting to see if your love can reach her even when she doesn't call for it, waiting to see if you'll sense that her quietness isn't rejection, but a need for reassurance, for comfort, for presence that doesn't demand but simply offers safety. Because if she can feel safe in your silence, if she can feel held in your patience, if she can sense your love, even without words, then she will begin to open again, not because you pulled her out, but because you gave her the space to come back on her own. To return not with fear, but with the full trust that her heart is safe with you, even in the moments when she cannot speak it. Learn to listen to what is not said. Understand the language of her heart when her lips are quiet. Because often, the silence of a woman in love is filled with words her soul is too afraid to speak. And if you can hear her even in that silence, you'll know a love deeper than words can ever express.